Hey guys, welcome back to our non-toxic podcast. I'm Hannah, and I'm currently having a last-minute crisis because I happened to catch a glimpse of the side of my head in the view screen that I have, and this is too much scalp, right? For those of you who are watching on YouTube, please just take a look at this. The side of my head, I feel like I can see this strip of like scalp from where I pulled this little high pony. That's too much scalp versus what should be showing reasonably. I don't know what I did wrong. I've not done this hairstyle. Like, I just don't usually do a whole lot with my hair. And then today I thought it'd be cute, and now I'm regretting it because I don't have time to change it. It's going to have a weird crease if I take it down. But there's something strange going on, and now I'm going to think about this flesh stripe through the side of my head the entire time. And everyone knows that whenever I'm recording by myself, I just look off into space, typically to the right, because I've conditioned myself to only show the good side of my face, aka the right side of my face. So now I'm going to be insecure about that the entire time. But it's fine. Only an hour left to go of insecurity on camera. Anyways, so excited to be recording with you guys. I have so many notes. Today is one of those days that I know I'm just going to blab for way too long because I have so many things that I have to talk about. And you are my captive audience. So if you have subjected yourself to listening, strap in. It's going to be a good one. I have a topic, but I'm not optimistic about getting to it. I kind of want to save it for whenever Bree is here because it's something that I think she could relate to, and it could be a good little therapy session for her. So I might get into it, but we'll just see because I have other things to discuss. First and foremost, I worked out this morning, and I just want everyone to know that. I went to the 6 a.m. class at Sit and Spin Studio. I'm not really a morning workout person anymore. I used to go to the 5 a.m. class at a 45 every single day for like a year and a half. And it was easier because I lived 4 minutes away, so I could roll out of bed at 4:45, put on my clothes, and still make the class, and that was fine. However, once I became self-employed and I no longer have to have a set work schedule, it's so difficult to motivate myself to work out in the morning because I don't have to be anywhere by 8 a.m. So every time I try and get into workout classes, I've gone through phases where I'll do the morning workouts and then I stop, and then I'll do the morning workouts and I stop. And it never sticks because I always end up talking to myself like, why are you doing this? Do you know that you don't have to? Because my schedule can truly be whenever I want to work, I can work. So if I wanted to work until 7 p.m. and sleep in, I could do that. So trying to motivate myself to get to the gym that early is just not something that I foresee happening. But this week is just very busy. Last week was very busy, and I couldn't get as many evening workouts in as I wanted to because last week was Valentine's Day. It was my sister's birthday. There were all kinds of events, and the weekend was busy. There were just a lot of things, so I didn't get to work out as much as I wanted to. And this week is like shaping up to be kind of the same thing. And then I'm leaving to go see my brother in Charleston this weekend, and then I'll get back. And then the week when I get back is crazy. And it was like this unfortunate realization with my world's tiniest violin, where I'm like, if I want to stick to consistent workouts, I'm going to have to go in the morning because there's just not time in the evenings. And maybe if I were a man, this would be different because I could like go to the gym, rinse off, and still look the exact same afterwards. But unfortunately, that's not the case for women. Another reason the patriarchy has just doomed us forever. But if I have a full face of makeup on and lashes and my hair is done and I go to the gym and I sweat, which I will, and then I leave, the look is done for the day. Like unless I want to go back through and redo my whole face of makeup, blow dry my hair again because the roots are all damp, it's just not feasible. So I don't. If I have things that I have to do in the daytime and in the evening, I'm not going to squeeze a workout in between them. So that leaves me with no option other than the morning. And I know some of you are probably saying, you do have another option. You could just not work out. And to that, I would say, have you seen my diet? I had a whole pack of Nerds clusters on the way up here. I've been eating Valentine's candy like I have been starving for 50 years. So no, it is not an option for me not to work out. I have to do something. Also for my sanity, because I get like nervous energy. And I was trying to explain to my husband why I'm always agitated at the end of a work from home day when you would think that I have ample peace and quiet and coffee at home. But it's because I sit in front of the computer for like 8 to 9 hours straight. And the only things I really get up to do are to refill my coffee, go to the bathroom, and fold the laundry typically. So I'm just in front of the computer and I'm sitting like this the whole time, like a little gremlin over my computer. My back hurts. I haven't moved in half a day, and it's just not, it's not good because my brain is tired. I get mental fog. I'm exhausted, but my body is like so angsty and like wanting to move and do something. My brain is just like on 0% capacity. I also want to say I do know that I do social media for a living, so I'm not trying to act like this much harder than it is. It's just the creativity and the typing and coming up with ideas, let's just not talk about that. I know it's not the hardest job in the world, but I do struggle sometimes whenever I have to sit because I only have 2 days working from home, which means I only have 2 days to get everything done for all my clients, all the video editing, all the scheduling, all the copywriting, all the correspondence, all of that gets done in my 2 work from home days. And typically on my work from home days, like today, I podcast and then I have to edit the podcast, and that's like a day and a half. So it's just a lot of work condensed into one day. But I'm not trying to be self-righteous and say, oh my gosh, my job is so hard, because in reality, it's not that challenging. But moving along, the giveaway brunch was fantastic. It was on Sunday. Ashley knocked it out of the freaking park as always. She's just incredible. I can't even name everything that she made for us because I am illiterate in the kitchen. But everything was fantastic. The girls were all amazing that were in attendance, and Brianna had a great time. The sun was out. It was a little chilly, but it was just fantastic. So hopefully we can do more giveaways in the future and have some more winners and get to meet more people. I've gotten a lot of messages about people asking if we would do another meetup. And my only hang up with that is that it's just difficult to guarantee that people will come. So if we were to reserve a place like Urban Grounds again and host a meetup, then it's just difficult because I know things come up last minute. But if a bunch of people commit to coming and then something happens and then it ends up just being like 5 of us, then it's not really worth it. But if there were enough people that were interested in like getting a group of listeners and all of us becoming pals, then we would for sure do it. But people have lives, and I doubt they want to spend them with us. Moving right along. I finally lost those toenails. If we had a laugh track, I'd press the button right now and applause. Woo, yay. Thank you. I have had 2 black toenails since I started running consistently, which was like October, November-ish, like around my birthday. I started having like this urge to do longer distance. You guys know this. I had 2 black toenails. It was my like pointer toe on both feet, which I have now learned that was result of my shoes being too small, and I've sized up. But they were like discolored and gross for months. And I got a pedicure before I went on vacation. I got the toenails painted all black because that's the only color that it wouldn't show through. And I've been waiting for them to fall off. And all these running blogs are like, oh, it just falls off on its own. Like it'll come off on its own. And it just hasn't. So on Sunday, I went and like did a workout, was running, came back home, and they were so sore and like they were so thick. It almost was like another toenail was growing under that toenail, which is nasty. Sorry. Long story short, I have removed both of them, and I feel like a much happier, freer version of myself. I am no longer in captivity by my pointer toenails. So can't get a pedicure anytime soon because I feel like that would really hurt, due to the lack of toenail, but I'm making steps in the right direction. Thank you for bearing with me during this time. I saw Star Trek for the first time. No one that listens to this podcast probably actually cares, but your younger brother probably will. And I just think that I'm in the beginning of what's going to be a beautiful, life-consuming obsession. And that's all I'm going to say on that subject. I'm going to see my brother this weekend. Like I said, we're going to Charleston, and by we, I mean myself. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him and seeing him play baseball, the warmer weather, being on the coast, all of the amazing things about flying to South Carolina. I'm not looking forward to the schedule condensing that happens whenever I'm gone, because I kind of have my routine built to maximize like every bit of every day. So whenever I lose some days, I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm just scrambling a little bit to fit everything in around it, but that's not important. I'm excited to go. I also am excited because I really need to clean out my camera roll, and there's never a better time to clean out your phone camera roll than whenever you're on an airplane. I'm just saying, get like the good playlist in. I like to listen to the one I've made that's called Thinking Deep Thoughts and Staring at a Window. It's like the movie montage, introspective, longing, just analyzing everything playlist. I stick that on, go through my camera roll, get distracted. I'll clean out about 15,000 pictures. That's not an exaggeration. And I will feel so much better about life. I cannot wait for that. It's like whenever your room gets clean and you get to walk in for the first time and you're like, oh, this is amazing. The clouds have parted. The beams of heaven are shining down upon my life. That's how I feel when I clean out my camera roll. Right now, I'm just feeling like everything is on fire. Sorry, I keep checking my notes. I have an actual like longer list of things that I wanted to say. No one cares about that. Me criticizing the notes that I wrote for myself this afternoon. Okay, getting back into the swing of this busy season has been a little bit difficult for me just because I'm not as used to this pace now as I used to be. And here's what I mean by that. Last year, I was busy in the spring. I was traveling in like the summer into the fall. I was on go mode all the time. And I had kind of gotten acclimated, like I had gotten good at being so scattered all the time to the point where I had lowered my stress about it. I learned that there's not really ever going to be a point that I have everything done. So previously, before I learned that lesson, I would get to the evening, and if I still had things to do, it would weigh on me. I didn't like having things carry over into the next day. I wasn't very good at just tabling things and saying, well, I'll get to that tomorrow. Like I wanted to finish as much of it as I could. And I just hadn't quite realized that there's never an end. You can work 3 hours past when you want it to be done, finish everything there is to finish. And then the second you sit down, there's going to be another email or another client comment or another something. There's always more to do. So you have to be okay with finding like a set cutoff point for your night. And sometimes it is like 7 p.m. because there's just a lot to do. And sometimes it's 4 p.m. and sometimes it's noon because I'm self-employed and that's one of the perks that I have. So it all depends. And I finally have learned to like be okay with that when there's not, you're never fully caught up. You're never fully on top of everything. You just do as much work as you can do to the best of your ability. And when the day ends, and you have to be able to enjoy your life as well. But I'm getting back into it now after taking a little bit of time around the holidays to not bring on any new clients, not grow at all, and just kind of scale things back. All my clients were celebrating their families and their holidays and taking vacations. So it was just kind of a natural let off the gas period. And now that I'm getting back into it, I'm like, man, this is a different ball game because I kind of had worked up to it gradually before. And then now I took a little bit of time, like low stress, low pressure. And then now I'm like back into it, brought on a bunch of new clients. I've had a lot of new inquiries and it's been amazing. But I'm also like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm hanging on to the bumper of like my car and it's just dragging me. We're like going down the highway, and I should really stop with the analogies because that's kind of irritating, but that's the best way I know how to communicate with you people. So I've just been trying to focus on sticking to a routine. I talked about in an episode or two ago how I've been really wanting to have more structure, and I've been implementing that in my days, like waking up, no matter how busy I have that day, I have to make my coffee and do my journaling because I have to get my thoughts down and clear my head. Getting to bed earlier, which is always a problem for me. I love to stay up late. Even last night, knowing I had a workout this morning at 6, so I had to be up at 5:25 a.m. Central Standard Time. Then I was still up on my phone past midnight. I don't know why I do that. It's just that I love my evening phone time. It's like a decompression period for me. So whenever I have to take that away, it's like a punishment because that's one of my favorite times of day. Yeah. I probably could use more sleep now that I'm thinking about it, but that's neither here nor there. I'm overall embracing the same little season that I talked to you guys about before, the main character in a 90s and early 2000s chick flick. I've got my workout classes. I'm just grinding right through. I'm wearing cute outfits. Objectively. No, I'm just kidding. I'm wearing cute outfits to me. I get to do fun things every day with work, and I'm just focusing on the positives of everything and not letting myself get caught up in the chaos, because that's something that I know and recognize that my old self would do, is only focus on how stressed and busy I am, and then keep thinking, okay, so when it slows down, then I can do this, I can see my friends. And I'm really just trying to make a conscious effort not to do that, because if I'm always waiting for something to calm down or something to give before I can start enjoying things and making plans to, be happy, then there's not really ever an end to that. So with that being said, I'm just making my little plans and doing fun things in the middle of the chaos. My report. Thank you for asking. If you'll recall, a report is what you are reading, eating, playing, obsessing over, recommending, and treating yourself to. So, reading, I'm going to reread ACOTAR, the Of Court of Thorns and Roses series, only because I finally finished Crescent City like 3 weeks ago. I don't know. I finished it the week it came out, which is a lot of information in 1 week. But I'll save that for the inevitable book episode. Now I want to reread ACOTAR because I have 2 friends that are reading and listening to the audiobook, and they're sending me all these like, oh my gosh, Tamlin did whatever, and this is so crazy, and then this just happened. And now I'm like back I'm like, yeah, girl, that's what happened. So I'm thinking about going back and rereading them just so I can experience it with them and like be able to talk. And now that I know kind of what happens, I'm sure I'll have a different perspective. So thinking about going back and rereading that. It's a small 5-book commitment, so really not a whole lot there, but could be fun. I am eating Valentine's Day candy. That's not new at all. My favorite, obviously, would be the little Nerds clusters, but they have the Valentine's one, and they're like more strawberry, and they're really good. So I also have a pack of the pink Sour Punch straws in my purse at this moment. And I'll just be honest about it. There's no shame. I am obsessing. hear me when I say obsessing over this song End of Beginning by Joe. I think that's how you say it. It's by Joe Keery, but the band is like DJO, so I assume that it's like a pun, whatever. Found it on TikTok last night. I listened to it probably 70 times. I had it on loop while I was getting ready, had it on loop while I was working, had it on loop on the drive to the spin studio on the way back. In the car, I've been like just blasting it. It's a short song, so that it just really gets those plays up. Probably not gonna, it's not gonna be good on my Spotify Wrap this year. It will be number one, guaranteed. So it's like one of those songs that just makes you feel. I don't know if it makes me feel happy or sad or conflicted, or like it just makes me feel so melancholy that I want to sit and savor it and just soak everything in, all the feelings. It's just beautiful. And I found out it's the song, if you don't know who Joe Keery is, he's the one who played Steve Harrington in Stranger Things. And he's definitely a tier 2 for me, in case you're wondering. He has a band, and this song was written about him getting famous so quickly and like not really knowing how to handle it. And I don't know, it's just very emotional and it's a good song. And I've been listening to that nonstop. So check it out. Let me know what you think. We can be emo together. I have been watching Star Trek, obviously, and obsessing over. And then recommending, Botox and spin class. I just got Botox and it hasn't kicked in yet, and I can't wait for it to do so because I'm scowling over here. I don't know if you can tell. Whatever. It's not that big of a deal. I'm just saying I will thank myself in 30 years whenever I still look 9 years old. I haven't looked 9 years old since I was 6. So I also have been watching, since I'm just talking about things that no one cares about, and probably going to lose all the listeners in the first 17 minutes of this episode, but whatever, you subjected yourself to this. I've been watching press conferences for movies that I like. I obviously am big into the Marvel universe, and at Comic-Con, there will always be panels of all the actors like answering questions about their movies that they've made as part of their press tour. And I love them, one, because I love to hear the directors talk about the movies and whatever else. I'll get into that later. And I love the actors. Like I'll be watching the ones for actors that I think are great. And this is kind of how they go. And I think it's hilarious. But picture this. You have like a giant conference room full of hundreds, probably hundreds of thousands of people. And they're all fans or decked out, like dressed in head to toe costume, like nerdy stuff. No shame. I would do it. I probably will do it in the future. Nerdy stuff. Then you have these actors who like probably just learned about this whole universe because they got cast in the movie, which is their job. And they're answering these questions. They're probably there all day. They've probably been doing lots of press. And you'll get these questions like someone will come to the microphone and be like, "Sir, I just want to know why you think that Captain America, what was going through his head during this scene when he was in this fight with so-and-so and he had this look in his eye and then he picked up the shield and he made this slight motion with his left hand, and I just want to know what you think was happening in his head that caused him to do that." And then you have the actor and they're always like, "Oof, that's a great question, actually. I think it was just, he was just feeling a lot of things, and it's been a long franchise, writers and directors, give it up for the writers and directors. And, I think it's just been a long journey, and all of that is just kind of coming around. And, I think that's really about it." And it's like the most non-interested, non-answer. They 9 times out of 10 just do not care about what they're talking about. And then you have these crazy fans that are so into it that they're like dissecting everything and analyzing it and being like, everything was an artistic choice. Every like flicker of the actor's eye they think was done on purpose, and they want to know why that was done. And then the actor who was just doing their job that probably doesn't even remember what they're talking about, they're like, here's my answer. Anyways, I think that it's hilarious and the dynamic is so funny. I do want to say if I was ever cast in a comic movie, I would care. I would care a lot. I would give equally as in-depth of answers in relation to the questions. So if anyone wants to cast me in something, I can't act, but I would be really happy to be there. Okay, I have a fun little activity that I wanted to share. I have been sharing with my friends in our little group chat some DMs that I have been receiving, because I get the most out-of-pocket random DMs, and I don't even think I can say I don't know why it happens, because I'm pretty sure the reason that it happens is that I post 9 times out of 10 exactly what I'm thinking, and it's largely inconsequential and stupid, and it's just random things. So I think that kind of opens the gate for people to be like, oh, I can say something stupid back because She always posts stupid things anyways. But then I was thinking, these are so random. Like imagining someone just coming up to me in person and saying these things. I'm always like, and I don't get offended. Like I probably would if certain things were sent to me, but most of the time I don't get offended. Like I have a pretty good sense of humor about these things. So when people message me random stuff, I'm never like, who do you think you are? I'm just like, oh, very nice. And I think it's so funny. So I've been sending these screenshots to my friends. And then I was like, you know what? I should just read them on the podcast because we can all have a good LOL over this. So allow me to start reading you some DMs I received. Sorry, sit break. Okay. First of all, this one was in response to me posting a stack of books on my Instagram story, just a stack of books that I had purchased. And this individual said, get a Kindle. And that was it. There was this is a person I've never met. Let me preface. I've never met this person. It just said, get a Kindle. Like no heart, no punctuation, no LOL, no, I think you should get a Kindle because it just said, get a Kindle. And I sent it in the group message and my friends were like, imagine if you were sitting in a coffee shop reading a paperback book and someone just came up to you and said, get a Kindle. I was just so baffled by that. I thought it was so funny though, because a book is not that archaic. It's not antiquated. People still read books. It's not like I'm using a typewriter or like, I don't know, using one of those Flintstone cars with my feet as the pedals. This is still a thing that most people use. So to come at me for not having a Kindle, I'm like, weird hill to die on, but I respect it. I will not be getting a Kindle though, because I'm running out of outlets in my house to charge all of my devices. So only accepting analog hobbies at this time. Thank you for understanding. Next, I had my hair down the other day and like the way that it was laying was just different than usual. And someone who I met one time at a work conference in Dallas messaged me and said, OMG, did you get a she mullet? And I read it and I was like, what did I post to warrant this? And then I look back at the photo that I had posted and I was like, oh no, it does look like a she mullet. I don't have one. I just don't know what I'm doing with my hair, which leads me to the next comment, which was in response to a photo of myself. Surprise, surprise. And it said, I feel like you have a different haircut every day. I don't. I have had the same haircut 4 months, probably 2 of them. And the reason that you think that is because I don't know how to do my hair. So how it comes out every time is entirely different. And I have no control over that. And I understand why there might be confusion. I don't have a different haircut every day. Sometimes I blow dry it, which gives it different, like the bangs lay different. Sometimes I curl it with a curling iron, which makes them lay like different. And sometimes I use a flat, like I never know. And then sometimes I brush them back so they're like out of my face, like whatever. And then sometimes they're down, like on the side. And sometimes they're across my forehead. And sometimes, I don't know. I just style them differently. And I did not know that that was so perplexing. But my apologies. I didn't mean to cause you any distress or any confusion. But thank you for bringing your concerns to me. This is the same haircut that I had yesterday. And this will also be the same haircut that I have tomorrow. But please feel free to come to me with any other concerns along the same vein. Next, this one actually made me laugh out loud. This was in response to me posting that I was watching Star Trek for the first time. This says, thank God you finally watch a movie franchise worth watching. Respectfully, not a jab at you, more of a jab at Marvel, which I guess is probably being taken as a personal jab because you equals Marvel. I don't know why that one made me laugh so much, but it was like such an aggressive comment to say, finally you watch a movie series worth watching. Not a jab at you, but also kind of. I was cracking up at that and I was like, I don't know if I should feel like offended by that because you're allowed to have your own opinions. Obviously, I think they're wrong if you don't like Marvel, but you're allowed to have them. And I don't know, the fact that somebody had taken notice of me being a Marvel fan is not entirely surprising. I feel like anyone who follows me knows that. But the fact that they had noticed it and then noticed enough to like be disgusted by my movie viewing habits and then see me watching a different movie and be like, finally, thank goodness. I don't know why. That just made me laugh a lot. I'm happy that I could serve the people by watching a better movie franchise. And in the future, I will try not to be so disappointing by continuing to watch movies that you don't like. Sorry, I'm cracking myself up. Okay. I can only imagine the range of material on your For You page. I had a screenshot of this from a while ago, but I don't remember what this was in response to because I cropped it out. But it was a story. It must have been a TikTok that I shared, or it wouldn't have said For You page. And this one, it really wasn't that wild of a DM. I can only imagine the range of material on your For You page. But then it made me think about it, and I'm like, that could not be a compliment. It could be like, oof, because your For You page is a reflection of you and what you consume. It's the algorithm. Like, obviously, whatever you're looking at, it's going to serve you more of that. And the worst part is that this person was not wrong. Like, my For You page, we did this one game with a group of girls. We like screencasted our phones to the TV on a girls' night, and we were scrolling through to like judge each other's For You page. And mine is, I don't think I would do that again. I don't think that I have the stomach to show what is on my For You page on a daily basis. And even now, I don't think I couldn't tell you what's on there. It's like a different universe. It circulates new things. I couldn't say I'm on this side and then I see outfit of the day and then I see cooking videos. It's like so niche. I can't even, maybe one day I actually will share it, but I'm just not prepared for that, especially after all of this being ostracized in my own messages, in my own Instagram DMs, being judged. But she wasn't wrong. And that's the part that I was like, ooh, yeah, that was a good call out. Okay. I posted a thrift haul and I had like basically just laid out all the clothes that I got. And someone said, this is going to slap harder than an angry stepdad out of beer in a dry county on Sunday. And I said, period. You're right. It did. It did slap that hard. Then there was this video that you might have seen. Everyone that I know apparently saw it. It's like this guy in the gym on the cable machine, and he puts a lot of weight on it, and then he hangs like upside down like Spider-Man from the cable. And seriously, like 11 people DM that to me, and they're like, please remake this. And I said, I go to a public gym. I can't be doing all that. That would be not appropriate and embarrassing. And by that, I mean, I definitely will try and do that in the future. I just keep forgetting. So I will make that video. But I was flattered and also a little embarrassed that everyone thought of me being like willing to do that in public. And also, I mostly flattered, I guess. I will do it for you guys. Also, this is a new thing that I've been doing that it started off as a funny thing, but I've been squinting at things like for comedic value. So if I'm like looking at my notes right now, I can see all of them just fine, but I'll look and like squint it. Like whenever you show your mom a TikTok and she like gets her glasses and looks at them and she's like, who is that? So when someone shows me something, even if it's like, I can totally see what it is, or far away works for both. Then I'm like squinting, just, I don't know. I think it's funny, but now it's kind of stuck and I keep doing it unironically. Beside the point. Okay. Last but not least, this one was actually a voice memo that I got, and I have it saved. I don't want to play it because I don't want to like expose this person for sending a voice memo, but it was really funny. I just like to respect the privacy because I want people to still feel free to say weird things in my DMs. So I'm never going to post someone's username or tell people who they are because it's a safe place. Even if you're being mean to me, it's a safe place. Anyways, this is what that person said. I listened to one episode of the pod, the one on dating advice, and it was the worst advice I ever heard. You just jumped straight into marriage. It didn't help me at all. And I have no rebuttal. He's absolutely right. That I did jump straight into, I got married when I was 22. So I have minimal dating advice, but I get the point of that message because the episode was on dating advice and we kind of just talked about like little dating stories. And then we got married. So we didn't really go into like strategies or like how to flirt or anything. And I don't really know that I know that answer, but I think it could be fun. I guess I'm assuming our listener base is primarily women like 25 to 34. And I don't know how many people are still actively like in the dating pool because the ones that reach out skew more towards like relationships and marriage. But for all my single girls, if you want us to do an episode on like flirting tactics, me after talking about all these embarrassing things, asking if you want me to teach you to flirt. No, but we can talk about different things or like, I don't know. We could talk about the actual logistics of dating and like even for guys, what girls want to hear and what things mean and so on. That could be pretty fun. So if you'd be interested, then let me know. I just don't want to make that episode and release it to a bunch of moms that are like listening while they're taking their kids to school. And they're like, I don't need to know this. Flirting is what got me in this mess. Flirting is the reason that I'm in Carline right now. Anyways. Okay. We're scrolling. And then I did put a story on my grid today because I knew I was going to be by myself. My story. I put a story on my story that was just saying, give me things to give an opinion on. And here are the suggestions that I saw before the episode, which if I missed one, it's probably because I didn't see it. First of all, whipped cream on coffee. Absolutely. Second one, pineapple on pizza. Also absolutely. My order from Domino's is as follows. It's white sauce, not Alfredo sauce, the white sauce, and pineapple, sausage, deep dish, thick pan, whatever. Fantastic. It was so good that when Austin went to go pick it up last time, they like opened the pizza to show you, to make sure you can approve the pie before it goes home with you. And he said the person that was in line next to him said, oh my gosh, that looks so good. He came home and told me, made my whole night. I said, you're right. I am a pizza connoisseur. Red sauce just isn't for me. It's fine. I'll eat it. But if given the option, I'm always going to opt out of that and go with something that's not marinara. So give it a try. Let me know what you think. It will change your life. Okay, Love is Blind. Haven't seen it. I'm just not a reality show person. I like my shows to be as unrealistic as possible, if you couldn't tell. I like aliens and superheroes and lightsabers and things like that. Anything you think your 8-year-old son would like, I probably like it as well. That being said, Love is Blind seems like a fun show. I have friends that like it. That's all I really have to say. I'm so sorry to disappoint. However, as a concept, Love is Blind, unfortunately, I don't think that's true. I think that people heavily see before they fall in love. But that's a story and a topic for a different day when I'm feeling more philosophical. Next, movies and shows. How do you watch movies? This one, funny story. So one of my friends sent me a Snapchat basically saying I was talking to my coworker and he's super artistic and we just see things so differently. And he was saying how whenever he watches a movie, like he's looking at it from like an analysis perspective, basically. Is it a character-driven movie or is it a plot-driven movie and how things are like filmed and everything else. And she sent it and she was just saying like, I think it's so funny how people watch movies differently because whenever I watch a movie or a show, I'm just watching it to watch the movie or show. And in her Snapchat video, she was like, am I weird? Like, is that abnormal? Because she was saying how she thinks that he's abnormal. But unfortunately for her, she sent that video to me. And you know how I watch movies, which is the most obnoxious way possible. So of course I sent her like a lengthy Snapchat video back. And I was like, no, this is how I watch them as well. I am also your artistic coworker, I suppose. But whenever I'm watching a show, I'm like getting so engrossed in everything from like why certain scenes were like filmed this way. Like if you ever look at cameras, sometimes things are filmed from a fixed camera angle. Like this podcast is filmed from like one camera on a tripod and it doesn't move. But if you look at different movies, like sometimes the camera in the shot is like shaking all around and moving to give it a different feel. Like it's more casual or it's more chaotic. And then sometimes everything is filmed in a continuous sequence. Like there's no cuts, no breaks. It's just like you're following the actor the entire time. And sometimes it jumps around. And then whenever they jump around from like one side to the other side, that could be a whole different take and whatever. I think it's interesting. I have no interest in being in movies or making movies. I just think it's really cool. And I love to watch like the Easter egg videos on YouTube, which again comes from Marvel. Take a shot every time I say Marvel this episode. I'm so sorry. But it was born from that because all the movies are made with such intentionality that everything is like hidden and there's always meaning and so on. And then you find out that so many directors like to put those kinds of things in their films, and same with TV shows. Everything's a reference, or there's different things that like, pay tribute to different shows that have come before them. And even down to like the styling choices. I don't know if you've ever watched any of those videos on YouTube where stylists will break down like, here's why we dress this character this way. And like Game of Thrones was big, how they talk about with some of the women, how their outfits evolve over time and it shows them like growing and changing as people. And I don't know, it's true in every show. And I think that there's so much behind filmmaking that is just so fascinating. But I watch shows and I'm thinking of that stuff. And then I'm thinking about why would they have written it this way? Like, are they trying to establish this or whatever. And then I'm thinking about someone had to act this out. You know, when you're watching something and you're so engrossed in it and all of a sudden you're like, oh, someone's pretending to do this. It's not really the ick. I don't really get the ick, but sometimes I'll be watching and thinking like they're so talented, or how uncomfortable I would be if I had to try and do that. And I still love watching movies. I realize I'm making it sound like a really chaotic, stressful experience. And I'm not obnoxious about it. Like, I don't think that I'm this film buff, this cinema genius. I don't have any takes that are any more in-depth or different than other people's. I just think it's really cool. So it's fun to watch them. I'm curious to see if people like to watch shows that way, or if they like to watch them like my friends, where they're typically just, you know, watching the show as it was intended to be watched. And I think it probably also depends on, you know, the day that you've had, if you're looking to unplug and just watch, you know, The Office and not think about anything, which, to its credit, The Office is pretty nuanced as well. Like the way that they've done things, I don't know. I'm going to get on the soapbox, but thank you for submitting that topic because I do love talking about that. So let me know how you guys watch your shows. Was Helen Keller real? This is a hot conspiracy theory that I wasn't made aware of until TikTok.gov was invented. People don't think that Helen Keller existed. And at first I was like, how are you going to dispute that she existed? You can't just say, no, I don't believe in that person. That's a person. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, okay, so she was blind, deaf, and mute, but she flew a plane and she wrote a book. I don't know. I don't want to be polarizing or say anything that's not PC around here, but I just feel like a lot of those things would be so impossible. And I know that's why her story is so, you know, prominent, is that, yeah, it's impossible. That's why it was a great story. But I'm trying to think of how you would write a book if I had never heard a word, had never spoken a word. How do you explain a concept to someone if you have no descriptors to give to them? Because if someone couldn't hear, you could show them. You could like point to things. You could draw things for them. You could illustrate them. If someone couldn't see, you can tell them. But if you can't do either, then I don't really know how you communicate just anything. I mean, colors and sounds. And so if she truly did do all those things and existed, I'm even more impressed, because the more you think about it, the more it's like how are you going to fly a plane? You can't, I don't know. Because your hands, you'd think would be on the joysticks. So then if someone's going to try and tell you, like I know they said her tutor would, like she would basically touch her tutor's hands to see what shape she was signing. But if your hands are on the controls at the cockpit of the plane, how are you going to be touching someone's hands? And then like you take your hands off the controls to be like, oh, I'm supposed to avoid this, whatever. And then you go back to the controls and then you're crashing. I don't know. I'm no expert. I'm just a girl with a microphone. So take that with a grain of salt. I don't think it, I'm not buying it. Waiting for the expose documentary to come out anytime. Okay, next. Crocs. Love them. Think they're funny. Have considered many times getting Crocs with gibbets, but ultimately have decided against it every time because I have too many weird behaviors as it is. Next. Jobs. Past jobs. This one, I feel like this is probably going to carry us to the end of the episode, guys, because this has been lengthy for me. So first job, I worked at a fireworks tent whenever I was 15. I had a little worker's permit. It was in Nixa. It was so fun. It was family owned. And it was just the best experience. I got to work for it was a 2-week gig. It wasn't that long, but I was 15. And my mom would take me to work every day. And I got to wear little jean shorts and my little t-shirt and sell fireworks to people. And it just felt like this all-American summer thing, and not very challenging, but I learned a lot about fireworks. So I had a great experience with that. The only thing that would have made it better is if there was I don't know, if I had a cute little summer crush, but I did not. So it could have been very Summer I Turned Pretty. Instead, it was just me selling fireworks to people with no teeth. But I think that's beautiful. My next job was at a Chinese buffet in Nixa, which was surprisingly really fun. It was my first waitressing job. And I say that with quotes because how much do you really waitress at a buffet? But it was a good time. It taught me about a kitchen. It was a smaller restaurant, and people served themselves. So it really wasn't that demanding of me, but it was fun because I had the little pad like you have in, or you see in movies. And I got to I was almost pretending to be a waitress, but it felt so real. And I don't know if anybody else experienced this, but my first job, I was so excited just to have a job because it still felt like playing dress up. So I had my apron and my little pen and my pad and everything. And I felt like I was seriously in some kind of a teen movie. And now I sometimes still think about that because there's something about mindless work where it's not overly challenging and it doesn't have to be done by me. it could be anybody that fills that role. And I love that. Like sometimes I have considered it would be just nice to pick up a shift, and obviously that's not an option because they would want someone who actually wanted to work more than one day a quarter. But it would be fun just to go back and work through a shift. And I remember clocking in and then like putting my phone in the back and not checking it for the entire 6-hour shift and just chatting with the customers. And if you had a slower night, like it was really just time to think and kind of check out from the world. And there's no pressure to do homework or anything because you're at work. You can't really stop and do something. So it's almost like once you enter into that little period, you're kind of just in that zone. And it was like a safe bubble, even though it was work. So I don't know. I was really romanticizing it back at the time. And I didn't work there for super long, but the time that I did work there, I really liked it. And I met a high school boyfriend, I guess kind of a boyfriend. I don't know. I met this boy in high school there because he gave me his number on like a little receipt, which was nice. That was a fun little meet cute moment. Then it didn't work out, obviously, but it was fun at the time. And my next job was at Texas Roadhouse, and Texas Roadhouse was a cultural institution in Springfield. If you are from this area, then I hope that you know what I'm talking about. It feels like every girl in my grade and class either knows someone who worked there or worked there. And it was just such a, I don't want to say prestigious because that sounds so ridiculous, but they would be very picky about who they would hire. And you could only get an interview if you knew somebody who worked there. And before you like say anything, like I know it was a Texas Roadhouse. Okay, I'm aware of that fully, but it was a serious thing back then, and you had to get like I was like 2 interviews. I'm seriously, I was vetted more for that job as a hostess than I have been for more of my adult jobs. And they had all these rules, like you had to have your nails done. You couldn't wear a headband, like an athletic headband. It had to be a cute headband. You had to have clean jeans. Your shirt had to be clean. Like it was just, and that sounds kind of, well, yeah, your stuff has to be clean, but like your black Texas Roadhouse t-shirt had to be spotless. And like if you had one that was too faded, like too grayish black versus the sharp black, you had to buy a new one because only your first one was free. And there are all these different roles. Like in Texas Roadhouse world, you have basically a hierarchy of hostessing. And I didn't work there as a waitress because I was too young, but you start off and you have seating, which is the one who, as you would imagine, takes you to your seat. And this is like the lowest on the little totem pole, but you do it until you learn everything else. Basically, you stand on what's called bake, which is like the bread row where all the rolls are, and you have to stand there. And I remember so many times having the bosses, they would say butts on bake, which is like stand over there and don't move because you have to stay out of the way of everybody. And we would get in trouble if we would come up to where the other hostesses were and try and talk to them while they were working. So you'd have your butts on bake at all times. And then after that, you would do, gosh, I don't even remember. Updating, I think, was the next one, which is basically there's one hostess that walks all around the restaurant, and every time a table gets up, they talk into their little, walkie-talkie microphone, and they would say their headset. Yeah, talking to their headset and say, busboys to table 331. And the busboys would go over there, and you felt so cool. I used to love those shifts because you kind of just stand around like prowling everything, like keeping an eye out, doing recon, and then a table gets up and you're like, busboys to table 138, and they would go over there and do it. So I love those. You put the little plates on, you put the silverware on. That's it. Then you could do to-goes, and that was difficult because people were very picky about their to-go orders, and there were a couple regulars that would call weekly or multiple times a week. And if you got this order, I remember there was one, I cannot remember her name, and even if I did, I should not say it, but there was this person who would call and make such a specific to-go order. Like she wanted her chicken breast golden brown. She liked her rolls almost raw, like very doughy. You had to request them specially. She liked, I don't know, it's just all these like really specific things. And like people learned to recognize her phone number on the caller ID. And then you were supposed to tell a manager like, oh, I have this to go. And they would make sure it was perfect because I don't know if she would just complain a lot or what would happen. But like we would treat this like there was a bomb threat. Like if we got this to go, we'd be like, I have the to go order. And then everybody would help you out and it would just be a whole thing. And I don't realize how ridiculous that is until like now saying it out loud. There was also the girl on board who was like queen of the hostesses for the night. But if you're on board, that means that you're on like the screen up at the front. So when you walk in and they say, how many? And you say 2. They say, okay, it'll be 15 minutes. That's the girl on board. And basically their whole job is to seat, but if there's so much strategy in it, and I'm not kidding you, whenever I say they treated this job like you were running, you had the nuclear launch codes at your fingertips. you would have to work there for so long. To get promoted to board was like, oh my gosh, like she has made it. But it's easy on a normal night, but the whole thing is that you're trying to seat kind of in a rotation. So you're trying to put tables with different servers. So you have, I don't know, can't even think about how many people there are, but essentially say there's 20 servers for the night. Everyone has 3-ish tables. So you want to make sure you're seating everybody like kind of in a circle so that they all have tables, and you don't want to seat somebody back to back because they get mad that they've been double sat. You also don't want to give somebody smaller tables at a bigger, basically if they have a section that has 3 6-top tables, so they can seat 6 people at each one, and then you give them 2, 2, and 2, they'll get mad because they could have had, 18 people there and they have 6. So trying to seat them, but you also don't really know who's going to walk in the door next. So sometimes you want to seat the server because they have no table right now. So you seat the two top, the party of 2 at their table, and the next person that walks in is a party of 6. And you're like, well, now I have nowhere to put them. So it was kind of like a logic puzzle, and people get surprisingly very angry, especially on a Saturday night. And the way that the host stand used to be before they remodeled it, it was like a cattle corral. And you would be standing up there like on the little elevated platform with your computer, and there's people like packed in all around you. You're nervous. You've been there all day. All you've eaten is like some peanuts and some rolls. And everyone's like, so how much longer is it going to be until I get sat? We've been here for 45 minutes. And you're like, I don't know. I'm just waiting because these people over here keep talking and I can't get them up. And then they get mad. It was just a whole thing. And then servers would get mad too and be like, you sat me with whatever. So needless to say, glad I moved on from that. And sorry for the in-depth description, but we also did to dance. They don't do this anymore, but it used to be a corporate requirement at Texas Roadhouse to dance every hour. And we had to learn dances. Like we would have dance classes after hours. We would do them either in the parking lot or in the building if it was closed, and learn 3 or 4 different line dances, because at any given time, if you heard the song We Will Rock You, that was the pre-song. You had to go up to the little platform and get ready to dance, like literally in the middle of all the booths. And I think people forget that, and it was really embarrassing, and I had to do it. Now they don't have to anymore. So yeah, kind of got gypped on that one. I worked there at the same time as I worked at Great Southern Bank as a teller, and I liked being a teller a lot. It was really fun. And it's basically the person that you give your money to, that you make deposits and cash checks with, and they're the person that works in the drive-thru in the lobby. Then I worked as a personal banker, which at the bank that I worked in this position at, you were like kind of a hybrid. So I could open new accounts and I could do different things at a desk. And I had a desk for the first time, which I was super psyched about. Again, going back to like, you feel like you're cosplaying as a grown up, because I had business cards and I had like my own little desk with pens and like fake plants and everything. And I just thought I was the best. And then I would also go back on the teller line when they needed help over there. So I kind of just bounced back and forth, and I liked it a lot. And then what else? From there, I went to go work. My job was executive coordinator, which was made up, but I basically helped underwrite loans, did some marketing. It was a smaller bank, so I could do a lot of things. And then what else did I do? Some bookkeeping, like in QuickBooks. I was in over my head. I was not meant to do that. I had a finance degree, and they kind of were like, oh, it's adjacent to accounting, and they would have me fill in for the bookkeeper whenever she was out. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to balance these things. I have no idea. And I was young. I was like 19 at this point, and I don't know how I got into that job because it was salaried, and I was shocked. Then my next job from there was as a credit analyst, loan processor, and I worked there. That was my longest job that I've had besides this one, working for myself. But that one I worked at for 2 years, and it was basically underwriting and processing commercial loans, as you can imagine. So taking tax returns and credit reports and putting them into a loan file, and you would work adjacent to a couple loan officers. Usually it was 2 loan officers would share 1 loan assistant, and it was just a lot of documentation, and I liked it a lot, actually. I mean, I'm nosy, so I like to see people's tax returns, and it was just fun because you got to meet a lot of business owners, and I didn't think it was overly stressful. But the only time that it was stressful was during COVID, because the PPP loans came out, the Paycheck Protection Program, and yeah, I think that's whatever. I'm thinking I'm confusing it with Princess Protection Program, but I'm pretty sure it was the Paycheck Protection Program. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about. But that one was insane, because basically, if you don't have a small business, you probably won't know or care. But this is during the time that we were half working from home. So we had an A group and a B group, and we would switch off which days we came into the office and which ones we worked from home. And there were all these rumors that the government was going to do some kind of a stimulation program for local businesses to make sure they could still pay their employees and not have to close. But we didn't know when it was going to come out. And then they finally said, okay, what we're doing is going to start tonight. And the portal opens at midnight to start putting applications in. So then there was this mad dash for all the lenders to like reach out to all their clients and say, you have to fill this application out, get it to me. We don't know how much money there is. It's like, think like the Hunger Games cornucopia. Like you have to get your stuff in before the money runs out from the government. So we're trying to collect all these applications from all these clients. And we actually all got called in, and my bosses sent me to Sam's to get all these snacks because they thought we're going to have to stay overnight to like work through the night putting all these applications in. We had like special committees and teams assigned to put them in. And I went there and I was getting all the snacks, all the, rations for the troops overnight. And we spent so many hours. We were there so late putting in all these applications. And then they ended up saying like, well, we're not going to run out of money. There will be more money and there'll be a second round. So then we ended up not having to stay overnight, but we stayed there pretty late. And that was a wild time because we were working Saturdays. We were working just so many hours trying to get everything done. And then the loans got forgiven, which is a whole other thing because then you had to take their application for loan forgiveness. And that was the only time that I was really kind of stressed out about all of it because, unprecedented times and all. We didn't really know what we were doing, but it's fine. I liked that job the most, I would say. And then I had a short stint at a construction job because I went to go work there because I had a connection with the person who was running it. And it was a significant pay raise. And I was a project manager, which if you know what that is, you're probably like, girl, what were you doing there? And the answer is I did not know. I was helping out with bookkeeping there too, balancing and job costing, which is looking at all the different facets of a construction job. Like how much does the roofing cost? How much does the plumbing cost? How much does the drywall cost? And then you basically take all the invoices and pay those and put everything into a QuickBooks spreadsheet. And I've done more QuickBooks in my life than I ever really care to. And I've only done a couple years of it. It's not for me. It's not fun. Then I would go out to job sites and make sure things were going okay. And I still didn't know what I was doing. So I'd be like, oh, it looks like the drywall is up. And they'd be like, that's the framing, girl. And I'm like, oh, I'm just kidding. I would not say anything because I didn't know what I was talking about. But if I did say something, it would probably have gone somewhere along those lines. Then I left that job to go work for a digital marketing company. And this was after I had started my business. I was kind of doing both. I had my full-time job at the construction company. And then I had my social media business with 2 or 3 clients. It was nothing big and it was never intended to be. It was supposed to just be a side hustle. And this digital marketing company was like, hey, you should come work here. You can do both. And I said, awesome. What a dream come true. So I left, quit my job, went to go work there. And I worked there for 3 days. And again, we had numerous conversations about me having my social media business and the job was only Monday through Thursday. So I could work, have a flex day on Friday. And they're like, yeah, you can totally do social media. That was one of their recruitment tactics for me was to tell me that I could do social media management for them or for myself while working for them and so on. And on the 3rd day, they called me to the office and they were like, hey, here's all your paperwork. We got everything done. And I looked at it and it was this massive non-compete. And it said for 5 or something crazy years, I couldn't do photography. I couldn't have my own portfolio. I couldn't have my own clients. I couldn't contact clients outside of work for them. And I'm like, guys, what is this? And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. It's just a formality. Everybody has to sign that. And I was like, well, why didn't you mention that when you were telling me that I could do it and it would just be fine? And like, what is fine? We wouldn't actually use that. It's just part of our protocol. So I talked to an attorney about that. And the attorney was like, well, I mean, even if they don't enforce it, they have the right to. So if you went out and made any money, they could come back and say, well, technically that's in violation of the non-compete and then sue you for it. So I ended up quitting after 3 days. And I said, unfortunately, I will not be able to sign this due to not wanting to. And that was while we were building a house and while we were planning a wedding. And I was like, what is going on? Why would they have done that to me? But it turns out everyone does not, in fact, have your best interest at heart. And I gave myself the summer because we were getting married in October. And I was like, if I don't have enough clients to replace my income by the end of the summer, this happened in May of that year, then I will go back to the bank and find a different job because there are always a million jobs in banking. Lo and behold, I found enough clients to replace my income and we're still doing this. So in May of this year, it'll be 3 full years, which is insane. But it was never intended to be a full-time thing. I never was one of those people that was like, oh, I want to work for myself. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to have a business. And that was not my job. I was totally fine having a salary job that I would clock out of. And of course I wanted to be successful and have financial freedom, but I did not really want to do it for myself. I wanted to rise up through the ranks of somebody else's company with their risk and everything, and then just get paid and kind of go home. So not the direction that my life ended up taking, but that's a great question. And I'm so glad that I got to take 20 minutes to answer it. But it is funny to see how everything grows and changes throughout the course of your life. And I was thinking about that after I did career day, because these kids just stare at you like you are from outer space whenever, actually, no, that would be cool. They're staring at you like you work in accounting, which I guess I did for a while, but they're so uninterested in anything you have to say. And at first I took it somewhat personally, but then I was thinking back to whenever I was in 7th grade, I don't even know what I wanted to be. I think I probably wanted to be a writer. And that's, I mean, it's not what I do, but it's definitely not what I do. I'm creative-ish. So it's just, you don't really have a full concept of what you're supposed to want to do. And I think not understanding the workforce and understanding that, you know, your passion and your profession don't always cross over. If they do, it's amazing, but it's not necessary and it's definitely not common. And I don't know, just the things that you set out to do versus the things that you end up doing. Like my husband has an accounting degree and he owns a masonry company. So those are very different. And one of my friends went to school to be a drama teacher and now she owns an aesthetics business. And obviously Bree, she went to school to be a nurse and she was working in the ICU and now she owns a med spa. So that's, I guess, pretty in line, but even so, that's not what she set out to do. But it is interesting. And I always love to hear people's stories about what they wanted to be versus what they went to school to be versus what they ended up being. And usually it's 3 completely different things. If there's someone who has the same, like you wanted to do something growing up or in high school, then you went to school and got a degree or a certificate or whatever is required for that, and then you do it to this day, I would be shocked because everything just changes so much once you get into the workforce. And I think you don't realize how many opportunities are really out there. So, man, once again, I have spent an entire episode talking about nothing. I feel like I could go into a topic just to give this episode some meat. But at that point, are people going to listen to 57 minutes of nothing just to get to some meat? I'll tell you a little bit about what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about acting your age as a female. And I had all these like notes and facets of that. But I heard the song All American Bitch by Olivia Rodrigo, and banger, by the way, it's amazing. But then I was listening to Nothing New by Taylor Swift, and the lyrics that stuck out to me were obviously in the first one, it's a little bit shorter, very succinct, says, I know my age and I act like it. And at first I'm just, jamming, headbanging in traffic, putting other drivers at risk. And I was like, wait, that's kind of profound. Like, I know my age and I act like it. So what does that mean? Like, I'm married and I have a business and a full-time gig and I have a mortgage, but I'm also only 25. So I have these 2 things that war inside of me of what is acting my age? Like, I, on the one hand, pay taxes. I have a business guy. I have my lawyer. I have my husband who's almost 30. I have my vehicle. Like, there are all these things where I feel like I'm forced into this grown-up bubble and my responsibilities stack and there's so much on me. But then on the other hand, I'm like, I'm only 25. And especially in other parts of the country, that's not even marriage age. Like, culturally, people don't get married in bigger cities until closer to 30s, and having families and everything, it's unheard of at this point. And we live in the Midwest and that's not the case, but I feel like there's just 2 very different expectations and perspectives on what acting my age would be like, because I feel like my age and my life stage aren't necessarily synchronized, because I could be 25 and still going out all the time and having a good time. And I feel like that would be acting my age. But the fact that I'm married and have all these responsibilities, I feel like contradicts that. But who's to say that you can't be responsible and still go out and have a good time and get your stuff done? I don't know. There's just so much to unpack with that. And then the other lyric is, they tell you while you're young, girls go out and have your fun. Then they hunt and slay the ones who actually do it. And that song, the whole song is so poetic and so poignant and just beautiful. But that lyric specifically, I'm like, that is prophetic in the worst way, because it's true. They, girls just want to have fun, go out and do this, like, live while you're young. And then the girls that actually do it and go out and have a good time, it's like they're seen as irresponsible, or like, oh my gosh, they're going to be someone's mom someday. And it just, there's so much judgment in that. And I think it's so unfair, because when does acting your age become inappropriate? And also, who's to say what is your age? Like, does Brie have to act differently than I have to act because she's 5 years older than me? Do I have to act differently than other people do because they're 5 years younger than me? Like, at what point between my age and Brie's age do I have to stop liking certain things and grow up? Or when do certain things that I enjoy become like, you need to act your age? And that's something that I can't even answer. I kind of wanted this to be like a dialogue with someone else because I don't even know if I have my thoughts figured out. But it's just so interesting to think about how society and the internet and everything has kind of twisted expectations and making it like, at some point, the things that you enjoy are no longer in your realm of enjoyment because you've grown out of them. But also, if you haven't grown out of them emotionally, if you still like them, then you're still acting your age because you are that age and you enjoy it. Here's my example. I like Star Wars. I liked Star Wars when I was 9. So is there a certain point that I have to stop liking Star Wars? Because now I'm 25 and I still like it. So wouldn't that make it a 25-year-old's interest? But like, think about the Disney adults. All the love and respect for you guys. You guys are adjacent to me being crazy. Disney adults. Disney is like a historically childlike thing to enjoy. But whenever you're an adult and you still like it, wouldn't that make it an adult thing to enjoy as well? Or do we all have to, like, at some point switch our clocks with the daylight savings time of growing up from liking fun, cute things to now we like wine and jazz music and Oprah? Do we still watch Oprah? I don't really know. I think she got canceled. But you know what I mean? Like, at what point do we stop reading Harry Potter books? We start reading self-help books. And again, more power to you if you like either of those things. It's not for me to decide. It's just the expectation that at some point your internal clock is supposed to like click over to a different mode, and all of a sudden you like to decorate your house in a responsible, mature way, and you're not trying to find a life-size Iron Man suit on Amazon to bring home. I don't know. Give me your opinion on acting your age, and if you think you act your age, and if you think there's pressure in really anything. So my DMs are always open. I would love to discuss it. That is my 5 minutes of serious conversation as a ratio to my 60 minutes of nonsense. So thank you for listening. I appreciate and love you guys so very much. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're having a wonderful week. Send me any topics, any ideas that you would like to hear. And I think that we will probably have a guest next week because I can't stay on topic. So I love you. Thank you for listening. Bye.